Unmatched Hustle. I'm Tyler Enzo, and I'm with my co-host, Dylan Bradley, and we have a very special guest for you, Cameron Blackwell. He's been super influential throughout our high school career, and he's experienced in a couple fields that we are going to touch on during this episode. Those fields are going to be business, marketing, as well as his poker.
Yeah, so this is Cameron Blackwell. He's 19 years old and he's studying at UW-Madison. His majors were originally economics and marketing, and now he's going to switch to a marketing major with a supply chain certification. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. He's got a laundry list of achievements. His resume just hit me when I saw it. So he's got a lot of relevant experience. He worked with Blue Water LED as a marketing specialist, Fellon's Packaging as a product development intern, Mercer Midwest as a marketing and merchandising intern. He's the co-founder and president of Homestead DECA, our school. He's a DECA International finalist in the Entrepreneurship series, and all this before his sophomore year at college. Cameron, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's an honor to be here.
So you've also got the passions and hobbies of reading and learning new skills, interested in school reform, and as well as some poker playing skills. So we hope to talk on all those things.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if I have very many poker skills, but I sure enjoy it.
I mean, you sure do know how to run up the tables.
We can touch on that if you'd like.
For sure. All right, so that was a sprawling intro. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to touch on, or?
No, I think you guys kind of hit most of the things that you'd see on my resume or I'd like to talk about. So yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
Awesome.
Is there anything interesting that you're currently working on that you'd like to share?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, especially because times are different here and, we're all kind of in self-quarantine. Depending on when you listen or watch this, you're going to find out, we are relevantly talking about the coronavirus. So with things being different with that, it's just working on growing my skill sets and becoming a better person, especially in self-isolation like this. So I guess in terms of any projects, like I said, I'm trying to, work on my skills. So make sure I'm a better person in Excel, copywriting, Adobe Photoshop, experimenting with some new tools that do robotic process automation. So a few things like that. And whatever I'd like to work on a new skill, I'd like to apply it to a project. So for example, with working on my Excel, becoming a more well-versed person in Excel, I'm working on making a set of Excel spreadsheets that anyone can just download for free for different use sets. So for example, if someone's starting a e-commerce or drop shipping business, making a template for accounting in that field. So if someone is starting a new drop shipping business or any e-commerce business, really, they can just download that template and then, fill in the relevant information, and hopefully that'll help them keep track of their accounting necessary for the business. So that kind of stuff is what I'd like to do just to apply those skill sets that I'm working on and enhancing. Aside from that, also working with two other guys that I think you guys are both very familiar with, Sam Henricks and Andrew Wang, on making a Supreme bot. So essentially, I know you'd like that one, Tyler. Essentially, for those of you that may not know what Supreme is or Supreme bot, Supreme is a very exclusive, very competitive, how would I put this? A very exclusive clothing brand that is not easily to obtain for the average person. They're what you'd call the hyped clothing brand. They sell online and they have a few select locations across the globe that people line up for every week on Thursdays to get their new products that they drop. And essentially what the Supreme bot does is it gives you a better chance of getting that product because there's a limited supply. That's how they create so much demand for the products. There's a limited supply for each of their products that they release. So the Supreme bot is for online, and essentially all it does is it will give you a better chance of being at the front of the line. Unlike if you had to type in your regular billing information and select the product that you want, it's going to take you a while to type it in. And by the time that you type all that stuff in, it's probably sold out. So the Supreme bot just automatically puts that stuff in for you, and it will increase your checkout, speed time to give you a better chance of copying that product. So yeah.
Does that mean that, do you have to be physically sitting there and like running the program when it drops, or could you be asleep or doing something else and it would just automatically make the purchase for you?
Yeah, so the one that we currently have, all you have to do is press a button and then it will do it by itself. There are some other ones that might automatically do the entire thing for you. So maybe you just have it automatically work in the background. You could be sleeping. Maybe that's a feature that we roll out down the line. But right now we're just in our first iteration of the product, and you click the button, a minute before the drop starts, and it will carry it out for you.
Gotcha. And is this something that you just want for yourself, or do you think you'd market it to other people?
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm not really interested in the product myself. Some other people are more passionate about the Supreme market than myself. Tyler, I know you're kind of you're kind of into that stuff. Not maybe necessarily Supreme so much, but the fashion sense of things. Some other people are into this a lot more than myself. Yeah. So marketing it to those relevant audiences is kind of what I'm working on doing right now.
Yeah. The thing about business or investing or anything, it's like you don't necessarily need to love it yourself, but you got to know that somebody else does.
Exactly. And it's being able to put yourself in the customer's shoes so you can understand them and their buying behavior.
Right.
And how are you going to plan on marketing this Supreme bot?
Yeah. So, of course, any product sold today, you can use online advertising. So that could be a click ad, a YouTube pre-roll ad. You can get, influencer marketing today, sponsored podcasts like this one. But we took a different approach to our marketing strategy. So I think it's important to be able to draw influence from other successful marketing campaigns and some other campaigns that I've seen in the past. They take this different approach to marketing their product. So essentially, here's what we're doing, and I'll tell you how it kind of connects to anything you're doing, so you could use this strategy yourself. So what we're doing is there's already people in the market for Supreme that are relevant influencers, right? They have a YouTube channel, a podcast, an Instagram account. And essentially, we created the product for that person or the person's audience.
Sure.
And what we're going to do is I'm taking my ad budget that I initially was going to use just for click ads, but we figured out that's probably not going to be the best route here. So we're taking our ad budget and we're paying these people as consultants. So I will do a 1 hour test with that person on, this is just user testing. We want to get their feedback. How do they like the product? How do they interact with the product? They can understand it. We'll set a precedent that this is, a beginner Supreme bot. We're trying to target the person that wants to get into the market. This is not an advanced Supreme bot, for the more seasoned users. This is a beginner Supreme bot. And then see how do they interact with it? What's their interaction like on the website? What's their interaction with the purchasing process, and then actually using the bot to purchase an item. So watching their entire behavior, asking them a series of questions as they do it, and after they conduct it, is going to give us some relevant data on how our products can actually perform in the market. And throughout that entire process, we're building a relationship with this person that's actually an expert in the industry, or they have influence, which we really appreciate their feedback for. On the flip side, we're also, as we're developing that relationship through the hour of consulting that we're paying them for and user testing, when we're developing that relationship, the hope is by the end, they're like, oh yeah, this is a great product. Here's my feedback on how I would make it better. We'll take some of that feedback, make the product better. So, it's ultimately a better product for our customers. And then they feel that they're invested in the product more, and then they'll want to be a partner with us. So a lot of the times whenever you want someone to promote your product, you have to just pay them an exuberant amount of money to promote it for you. Right. So if I'm going to Tyler, for example, and we are trying to promote our latest Supreme bot, right? He has an audience for it, but he's like, hey, if I'm going to make a video about this, post it on my story and on my feed, that's going to be $800. Depending on how large your company is, you may or may not have $800 to shell out to a bunch of influencers to promote your product. So in developing that relationship with people, you can kind of get a subsidized market price for the value. So when we're developing this relationship with people and they feel invested in our product, the hope is, right, we paid them for the hour of consulting, so $50, $70, whatever it is for the consulting. If they want to promote our product, we can go into a partnership agreement. So rather than your traditional affiliate offer where someone might get 10, 15, 5% of the product that they move, we'll offer 40 to 50% of the product they move. So if they want to make a video about it, and they're selling a $60 product, they're going to get, between $25 and $30 for moving that product. So they are a real partner at the end of the day, and we're giving more of the end result to them rather than the front-loaded cash. So it's potential for them to make more money for, subsidizing the, purchase price for their sponsored content.
And is your hope that they will then keep promoting it all the way through, which would then outpace what you'd originally have purchased with that like $800 or whatever it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially because we want to work with a lot of YouTubers and their videos, the key with YouTube is once you get a video once that kind of gets in that YouTube algorithm, it might stay relevant for a while and YouTube will keep promoting it for a while. Right. So while maybe you pay for an Instagram ad one time that you pay $100 for, someone's going to put it up and it's relevant for about 24 hours. Then it kind of dies in the YouTube algorithm. No one pays attention to it. If you're going to get that YouTube video, like we're kind of going after, that's something that, you're going to get that instant spike in viewership from people that subscribe to that channel. Sure. But then if it hits the YouTube algorithm, it will continue for months, maybe even years, that people will view that video from YouTube recommendations or someone searching for that relevant YouTube topic. So we'll continue to get that over time, like you said, rather than just on the front end.
Smart. Yeah, and it definitely helps with the algorithm too when they have like an engaged fan base.
Right.
All right. So obviously, from just talking to you for 10 minutes, we can tell you're a young entrepreneur. Where do you see yourself in like the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. So I'd love to continue down that entrepreneur path. And hopefully start my own startup or company, maybe join a company early on. But early on in my career, I'd like to stick to maybe consulting or product development. Or product management rather. And that way I'm going to get the relevant knowledge and learning that I need to start my own company. There's just been this push over, in culture over the last few years, watching Mark Zuckerberg drop out of college and start Facebook and it blows up. That's great and all. I think people starting out, I have nothing against people starting out early in their entrepreneur, career and being young. But at the same time, I think it's important to step back and learn from other people and learn from doing at someone else's expense, right? I could drop out of college right now and start my own business, Who knows if it will be successful or not? More than likely, it's not going to be a home run, and I should have probably stayed in college. But if I can join a company for 2 to 3 years, 2 to 4 years, whatever it is, and learn at their expense, so I can make those mistakes on the job, I can learn from successes of my peers and associates around me. That's going to add more value to me. Where now, when I go to start my own company, I already know how to do a bunch of things. I've already seen this in a successful model. I've seen a market opportunity that I can capitalize on. And that's what I'd like to go for. So on the front end of the 5 years, hopefully learning as much as I can from working with other people and working on different projects and products at different companies. And then on the latter half of that, starting my own endeavor.
That's awesome. So a couple things related to what's happening in the day-to-day right now. How are you personally handling the quarantine, and what changes have you made in your daily routine?
Yeah. So because I'm usually away at college, around all my peers, and which I miss them greatly. But it's definitely nice to be here at home where I can see my family every day, talk to them. And then also all the people that I wouldn't normally get to see, like you guys, just because I'm at college and busy with that. Right. So it's nice to catch up with the people that I have been, distance from for a while. but at the same time, I'm using this extra time that I would normally be socializing with people during college to enhance myself. So that's different skills, like I was mentioning, refining those through taking courses or reading books, that sort of thing.
Has that been like through LinkedIn skills? Like you showed me that before?
Yeah. So something that's really neat, anyone that's entering college, and so I go to UW-Madison, and they offer a program called LinkedIn Learning for free. So this used to be lynda.com, if you're familiar with that. But LinkedIn Learning, you can literally find any course that you would be interested in for a relevant field. So we'll take, if you want to be a coder, for example, so you want to learn how to make iOS apps, or you want to learn how to develop websites, whatever that relevant skill that you want to take the time to learn, they have courses on there by experts in that industry. They're very in-depth. I've taken a few courses in various fields and enjoyed them. So if you do have access to that for free, and sometimes at someone's workplace, so the company will offer this as a perk of working there because, they want their employees to become more skilled.
Sure.
If you can somehow get your hands on LinkedIn Learning, that's a great way to pick up a new skill and go from there.
Smart.
All right. So as we can tell, you're very devoted into developing your skills that's been shown through creating a new entrepreneurship opportunity such as the Supreme Bot. What habits are super important to you in constantly staying on top?
Yeah. So I think in anyone's success, it's very common saying health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? So there's multiple facets to someone's success, and there's different habits that you can use to hit at each of those. So for me, at least in terms of the health part, that's especially this year in this semester, getting into working out a lot more. So I've been making sure that I work out 6 out of 7 days a week, cardio, some lifting weights, just making sure that I'm doing that every day. And at this point, once you make something like that a habit, you can't really go on throughout your day unless you do that. You just always have that knack to go and do it. So that's kind of on the health side of things. There's also mental health, so just making sure that you have clarity of mind in whatever you're doing. Wealth, definitely making sure that I keep up with the stock market. So especially as things are starting to go down in this coronavirus time, watching the market, listening to other people's takes on things, and then ultimately forming my own hypothesis on where I see things the next few weeks, months, and beyond that. Love making sure I get that face time with my family every day, and happiness just doing things that I enjoy outside of school that make me feel fulfilled. So working out every day, those skills. One more that I definitely would like to say is I'm a big napper. So I like to take naps during the day. This is a controversial topic, whether it's a good or bad thing to take naps. But for me, if I take a power nap, 23-minute nap in the middle of the day, that's always going to help me out. And I feel like I'm more productive after that. I don't know, you guys nappers yourselves at all?
Definitely. After school, you get that 20 minutes, half an hour, and then I think the rest of the night you're doing better.
Exactly. You can just stay up an extra 2 or 3 hours just for that 20 minutes.
Relating to sleep schedule, so I think a lot of people put emphasis on sleep schedule as related to their success. They say, either to be a high achiever, you got to be up at 5 a.m. or you got to be up until 3 a.m. working on things. What is do you think sleep schedule is relevant to success? And if so, how do you incorporate that into your life?
Yeah, it's a good point there. Ultimately, sleep schedule doesn't have anything to do with your success. Rather, it's the amount of hours that you dedicate to whatever your endeavor is. That's what matters. So, I could be up at 5 a.m. every day, or I could be, I could stay awake at night until 3 a.m. every night if I wanted to. But I could just be doing completely irrelevant things. I could be playing video games or talking to my friends at 3 a.m. and that's not really going to help you become a more successful person. Not that those are both fun things to do and we all enjoy them from time to time, but it's really about how you maximize those hours during the day. So if you're an early morning person, yeah, maybe you wake up earlier in the morning so then you can get more of those productive hours in. If you're a night person, stay up a little later and wake up in the morning a little later in the day so that, you're maximizing your productive hours. So it's whatever works better for you. For me, I still haven't really figured that out, to be honest with you. You never know what college is going to throw at you. So sometimes you stay up later than you have to, but you still have to, at the end of the day, wake up for that 7:30 class. So I'm just kind of going with the flow at this point. I'd say probably on average wake up around 7 a.m.
That's pretty good. Relating to kind of how you structure your day, do you use daily agendas, to-do lists, other organizational tools to help you accomplish those tasks?
Yeah, so I got 3 main tools that I'll use. I'll use the calendar app for iOS. Some people prefer Google Calendar. I'll use a to-do list app. So I use Todoist based on that time that I've structured in my day on the calendar. That's free time for working, so schoolwork or some other kind of work that I have to do. I'll just block out that time on the calendar, and then whenever I see that time comes up, I'll go to the to-do list and see what are the priorities for that category that I have to knock out.
Sure.
And then the last one that I use is an app called Habit. So if you have an iOS phone, I'll pull it out and show you guys on the video. It's this app called Habit, and what you can do is you can just kind of make these daily tasks that you have to accomplish every day. I don't know how well you guys can see that, and the audio listeners maybe follow along on your own phone, but you can kind of make these habits that you want to accomplish every day, and then as you accomplish them, check them off. So instead of these are like your to-do list is for those tasks that you have to accomplish for the day, but the habits are the things that you want to make sure you do every day. So this is working out, maybe reading your Bible. That's one that I do every day. Making sure that I eat clean, so staying on my diet that I've set up for the foreseeable future. Making sure that I check these off every day just keeps me accountable so that I can see that growth and the amount of times that I end up achieving it. So if you click on the habit, you check it off for the day. You could click on it to see your progress over time. Have you been slacking off recently? Have you been growing continually? So for me, that's just the last tool that I use to make sure I'm more productive in hitting those habits every day.
That's great. We can put links to that in the description. I think that would be something that many people would like to check out. Got a couple more questions here lined up. What does success personally mean to you?
Yeah. Yes, of course, it's hitting your goals that you set out for every day. But at the same time, it's, I think, continued growth as an individual. You could have your level of success that you want to reach in a particular field, but at the same time, it's more about the journey. And if you're not growing every day to get closer to that goal that you set, what is life? So for me, that's success. It's growing every day so that you can hit those big goals that you set. Absolutely.
All right, so we know your dad's been super influential in your life with helping you out with your entrepreneurial endeavors. What has your dad done specifically that's really influenced you into like the person you are today?
Yeah, I definitely attribute a lot of my success, ambition, and drive to him and his influence on my life. I guess for me, it's just nice to always have a person there that you can talk to about whatever you're going through or anything you observe. So I can see something that he's doing or what happens in one of his businesses, and I can kind of see, okay, well, I can ask, why are you doing it this way? Or, how did you do that? So then I could, ultimately go out to learn that skill or learn how to do that, whatever I see. Or at the same time, whenever I'm faced with that decision in the future, I know how he operated in that scenario. So for me, it's just having a person there that you can always ask a question about, your curiosity. Something that could help you in the future, something that could help you tomorrow, something that you saw you made a mistake in the past about, and then a successful model, how they went about doing that. It's just always having someone you can ask questions to. And if I have a million questions I can ask them, it's nice to always have that in your house. Or if I have a question every day, I can go ahead and ask that. So I think it's important for everyone, whether it's one of your parents, a sibling, a mentor, find someone in your life for different things that you're doing and interested in. Find someone that's a few steps ahead of you so that you can ask them questions about that.
Right. And I would guess that you two have pretty similar minds. And can you kind of do you think similar ways?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're always the sum of the closest people around you, and I've always had that positive relationship where, I think that all of the things that he's interested in or his way of going about doing things has just kind of, inherently been casted onto me just because of that proximity. So yeah, we do think very similarly in a lot of business aspects and, of course, other aspects of life. Yeah.
Great. So next up, kind of a interesting thing is, if you could ask one person, dead or alive, one question, who would you ask and what would you ask them?
That's a really good question there. Something that I've always been interested in are the 1800s American icons in business magnates. So these are your Rockefellers, Carnegies, Ford, who's actually, I think, 90s, but Vanderbilt, you go on. But all of these guys, how they built successful businesses, it was so much bigger than just let's build a business. It's let's change, America, and let's build the infrastructure for America that ultimately made us into the powerhouse we are today. So something that's interesting when you're faced with competition in the world today, how do people respond? So I'd like to ask someone like Rockefeller, who was an oil titan. So I'd introduce him to the new technology that's going to replace his technology. So solar panels or any kind of power that you can find, some kind of energy source that's an alternate to oil, and say, hey, I have this here. I fully intend on wiping out any need for oil. So I want to kill your business. How do you respond? So it'd be interesting to see how he responds. Is he going to jump on the train and, try to take over my mode of energy? Or is he going to try to, like they used to back in the day, kind of kill us? So they would sabotage you in one way or the other. So just test him on that, see how he does.
Yeah.
What his course of action would be.
That's interesting. I think back then, a lot of times they weren't as scrupulous with how they kind of business ethics and that sort of thing.
Right.
They would see it more as war rather than friendly competition. So I wonder, like you said, would he actually try and engage with you on a business level, or would he more just try and stab you under the table kind of thing?
Exactly. Who knows? That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so another question that we have is, what are your current goals? I mean, we understand from just talking to you that you want to learn from your elders as well as develop your skills along the way in order to meet these goals. So, what are your current goals?
Yeah. So I guess I had some short-term and long-term goals for a lot of different parts of my life. Spiritual goals. I want to make sure I'm growing, getting closer to God every day. As a Christian and a believer, I also want to make sure academically I'm growing. So as my GPA going up, I set a semester GPA goal. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't, but it's always good to have something to strive towards. And then, in a field like that, it's a long-term goal. Okay, so what GPA do I want to graduate with? And kind of, those short-term goals every semester are leading up to that long-term goal that I have. Whenever I go to the gym, as a very competitive person, I always like to run a mile time. So, funny story about that, actually. I was talking to my buddy and I was like, hey, I was really proud of myself. I finally hit under a 7-minute mile, and it was way over. I hit a 7:45 and I was hyped about that. Or I'm sorry, 6:45-minute mile on the treadmill, and I was hyped about that. He's like, oh, nice. He's like, yeah, I think I ran a 6:35 before. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, all right. So he was like congratulating me, but like, yeah, I'm still better. I was like, all right, challenge accepted. So he told me that during the day. I grabbed the fob for Anytime Fitness at 11 that night, and I was like, all right, 6:35. I think I can beat that. So grabbed the fob, went into Anytime, took the corner treadmill. I was just drenched in sweat, went as quick as I could, and I surpassed his goal. I got a 6:25.
That's great.
Recorded a nice little video for him. You know, I could send you guys a video if you want.
Right
It's
back
a
at you,
little
big guy.
explicit, but yeah, I made sure I sent that over to him, and he was a little surprised. But that's just my competitive nature. So I got that 6:23, and I want to beat that now. Try to get maybe a under 6 minute mile. That would be cool. But yeah, in the gym, that's what I always like to do. And then I have my new schedule that I set up here for working from home. Got to make sure you're very accountable to yourself now that you don't have all these different people around you that you interact with every day, that kind of you guys keep each other accountable for different areas of your life.
Right.
So I made my new schedule. I want to make sure that I stick to that every day in April. Yeah, that's pretty much it right now.
That's great. So, okay. Relating to something beyond kind of the business or the personal world. So I'm interested in poker, and I know you've been pretty successful in that. And I have a couple questions related to that. What do you think makes for a good poker player?
Yeah. So I guess there's kind of two routes you go with being a good poker player, and I definitely fit into one bucket more than the other. But you can take the time to actually study. So the great people that you'll see on TV on those poker tournaments, you're like, why is ESPN showing poker? Well, it's fun to see people make millions of dollars in a matter of hours. So, yeah, you see those guys, they're taking the time to study, in terms of poker strategy, what type of player they are, and then studying their competition. So you kind of know those, big power players that you're going to be up against. How do you play against someone that's very bet heavy or, they bluff a lot? How do you play against someone like that? And study their game so you know how to react in different situations, different hands that you have and what's on the board. And then on the other side of things, you have those guys like myself that just like to play home games. So you'll play against your friends. And for my success, I play against the same 6 or 7 guys. Whenever I played in the summer, I was playing with them every week or so. I was playing with the same 6 or 7 guys every week. So just taking the time to understand them is all I had to do. So I didn't have to be the best poker player in the world. I just had to be better than the, 6 or 7 people around me. So that's probably what most of my success is. And as I play a few games in college, you kind of see like, well, not the best poker player in the world, but I can beat those same guys at home every week.
Sure.
So what makes a good poker player? Studying the game, strategy, and then knowing the other people around you and how they play, how to adapt to play against them.
That's awesome. So I would say, how do you develop those skills? But you're saying at least spend some time. When you say study, do you mean literally like reading books about poker?
Yeah, you can read books. I'm more of a video guy. I like to have people on YouTube just talk through different hands, see how they would play them, how they play against different types of players. So I'm a big video guy. I'll watch a lot of YouTube videos on that sort of stuff. And then you can just watch straight up poker tournaments if you want. They always show you the different cards that everyone has in their hands. So you can study to see how they play them whenever someone's had success playing the certain strategy they have or they failed in a certain way.
Gotcha.
Great.
Gotcha.
Any tricks you'd be willing to share? I don't want to give away your game too much.
Oof. I guess I personally, whenever you're playing with beginners, so you're playing with new players and they're not so good, you got to be careful. You know way more about poker than them, and you can catch them in goofy situations. But if you're not really paying close attention, they can get you with some goofy stuff. And sometimes they don't even understand how to play their hand. They'll think they have a straight when they really only have a sequence of 4 cards. So, and they come off really confident. You're like, oh, I'm going to back out. I'm going to fold. But then they flip them up at the end and show you they only had a sequence of 4. So you got to be careful with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really have any tricks so much, but like I said, I know how to play those 6 or 7 guys around me every week.
Got it. Well, that's good. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so I know you've emptied out a few of my friends' pockets. Is there that one of these new unexperienced poker players just absolutely ran it up on you?
One of the times someone new ran it up on me. Well, we had our mutual friend. We had Federico from Italy, and I'll never forget when Federico in a poker tournament, I was like, I can beat this guy. That's why I invited him over. I mean, of course we're friends, but I'm going to invite the guys over that don't know how to play so I can take their money. But no, it was funny because I remember Federico just for like the first part of the tournament, just knocking people out left and right, getting crazy good hands. And he took us out. I think he took me out of the tournament once, and I had to rebuy in because of that. But I remember him taking out Tyler Gow specifically, and it was a bad beat. So he was that was a big surprise, and a lot of success there for Federico that night.
Rico.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like a bruiser.
Yeah, it was. That one stung.
So that's obviously not your best day of your life, getting burned by the new foreign exchange student. What was the best day of your life, though?
What was the best day of my life?
Yeah, kind of hit you with that one.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. One of the better days of my life was when I got into UW-Madison, because that was something that I worked towards so for so long, K through 12, especially early on, you don't really know why you're putting in so much work with all the homework, studying for tests and stuff. You're like, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to go to college. But once you really set that goal, like, yeah, I want to go to UW-Madison. Or if you're more ambitious than myself, I want to go to Harvard, Stanford, an Ivy League school, Northwestern, any of those big names. You set that goal for yourself and you start putting in the work every day for it. When it comes to it's 1 a.m., got a test tomorrow, that you're like, yeah, I still need to brush up a little more on this subject, and you decide to go for it, and you put in the extra hour, 2 or 3 hours, study for that test, and it paid off. All that time that you worked, and you get, you hit your goal, you hear the congratulations, Cameron, or congratulations, Dylan, congratulations, Tyler. You see that on your email when you get accepted into the college. You know all the hours that you put in for that. So that was probably one of the best days in my recent years that I could definitely look at today in retrospect.
That's awesome.
And how long did you know that you wanted to go to Madison for? Because it sounded like you knew you wanted to go there for quite a long time.
Yeah. So I'd say probably it was always on my radar, of course, just being in proximity to the school from Wisconsin. But I'd say freshman, sophomore year is when I really solidified that answer. The idea really probably, came to me in 8th grade. I remember teacher, Miss Block at Stephan, making us research different colleges that we'd want to go to. And she was really happy that she saw I put Madison on my list. And that was probably where the idea generated. Of course, it's also being shoved down your throat when you're a Wisconsin resident by your parents for years. But maybe 8th grade to sophomore year, that really developed it and then just kept going for it.
And has it met your expectations? Because you've been there for a semester now, but...
Yeah, I'd say probably met my expectations first semester and exceeded them second semester.
Awesome.
Once you get more acclimated on campus, it's a lot more fun, just with all the different people and involvement that you have on campus. I love it here. I couldn't speak more highly of it. If you ever have any questions about it or you want a campus tour once the coronavirus clears up, I'd be happy to give you one.
Yes. And second semester, you joined a business fraternity. Would you like to speak on that at all, or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, if you asked me before entering college, would I join any sort of fraternity, social or business, I would have laughed and said no. But a couple of my buddies ended up joining first semester, and they just couldn't speak more highly of it. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm into business. I like this, and any environment where you have driven individuals that all kind of lift each other up and try to help each other out as much as they can, as well as there's a social aspect to it. Hanging out with your brothers every week is great, but an environment like that sounded like something that I would enjoy, so I went for it. It was pretty highly selective, but they do a good job with the process of preparing you or telling you, being very upfront with what they're looking for. And I was very honored to have gotten be a pledge this semester, and it's been just the best time of my life. In terms of touching you up on your interviewing skills, your resume, professional development, and what companies are looking for, how to operate something like a career fair, anything like that's worth my time, and it's totally been beneficial anytime I've been faced with creating a new resume or updating it, or interviewing. I literally had a job interview or an internship interview yesterday, and I used the stuff they talk about. So stuff like that, I'm so thankful for. And then the people in Badger Alpha Kappa Psi are just amazing individuals. Everyone's super friendly, always uplifting. Got some characters, some really great guys and girls in there.
That's awesome. So kind of going in a different direction, in your opinion, what are the most overrated and underrated virtues?
Interesting. Well, I think we kind of touched on earlier is passion. People are like, well, you got to be passionate about whatever business you start, or you got to be passionate about whatever field you go into. I think there's a level. You have to have interest in it, right? I could be interested in marketing, but I don't have to be the most interested person in fashion. But because of my interest in marketing, I would be happy to work for a fashion company so I could figure out the fun of figuring out, how to market in that field,
right?
And how, to get into that customer's shoes. That's what excites me. So I don't think you necessarily need to be passionate about the field of, whatever it is, fashion or maybe technology for you. Like, technology is very interesting to me, but maybe if you're not so interested in technology, something like that, you don't have to be super interested in that and passionate about it. But if you have an interest in the profession and the practice, that's going to go a lot further. I'll give you another one. Other than passion, people always play the nature aspect of things up so much. People like to say that it's all about nature and, whatever situation that you are given, you're born in. So it's more about the connections that your family gives you rather than the actual intellect that you have. And I think that's definitely true to a certain degree. But at the same time, I live under the notion that wherever you are in your life, whatever situation that you are given is a blessing, because, just the chances of you being born were so slim. So whatever it is that you have, use that to the best of your ability. You should. If you were given a nice posh situation at home with a lot of family connections, use them by all means. But maybe if you weren't, maybe mommy and daddy aren't going to pay for your college in full. Don't want to send you to that big name Ivy League school because they don't want to pay for it. It doesn't matter. What matters is using what you are given and then putting in the work alongside of that to, build and grow to wherever you want to be. So I think it's also, rather than just the, nurture, it's the nature that everyone has. Everyone has that ability to work hard in life, and, you can achieve whatever your goals that you set out to, beyond just what your family standards are, what you're confined to by society.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
That's awesome. So we talked about some of the habits that you have implemented and tried to develop throughout your life. What's your worst habit, though?
My worst habit? Oof. It's always important to know your strengths and weaknesses. That's something that they always tell you in Alpha Kappa Psi. I kind of get over obsessed with certain things. So it's very easy for me to get distracted, especially whenever I might be on YouTube to look for something educational, but those recommended videos, those will always get me. I'm sure you guys have gone down one of those rabbit holes. But sometimes I'll admit staying focused is not the easiest thing for me to do. So spending too much time on, those YouTube rabbit holes and social media, sometimes when you get interested in something or something catches your eye, that's probably my worst habit.
Gotcha. Okay, this one also kind of a different direction. I'm interested to hear your answer about this one.
First, about this one. We've got it. We'll see.
Who is your celebrity crush?
Who's my celebrity crush? Man, that's an interesting one. It's not a girl, but
is it Elon?
Celebrity. It's this guy right here, man. It's this guy right here. Elon Musk, man. Maybe I have a man crush on him. I don't know. But no, it's just cool to see whatever he does. It's so neat because he's such a unique individual. I guess, his mind's so different than everyone, and he always has this relentless drive for anything that he puts his name on. But at the same time, it's cool to see how pop culture's kind of embraced him, and he has this, awkward geek swagger to him. That's just such a completely different animal that I've ever seen. So probably Elon.
That's awesome. I feel like he doesn't believe in the idea of like an obstacle. He just like, if there's something wrong, he's just like, okay, let's just not do that then. Let's just go over it, go under it, dig through it, dig below it.
I 100% agree. He's so relentless in whatever he does. Doesn't see, like you said, he doesn't see any obstacles in his path.
That's awesome.
He's an animal. He is an animal. All right, kind of on like a similar note, but not really. Who would play you in your biopic?
Who would play me?
Would it be a Mr. Musk?
Mr. Musk. I guess no. I'd say, okay, we'll put it like this. If there's the egotistical situation, someone was making a movie about my life, right? Mm-hmm. I'd probably ask for Michael B. Jordan to play my character, because one, his ability to act is just stellar. I think his presence on the screen, he always kills whatever role that he's given. But at the same time, he comes from a background, two loving parents, a very supporting household. His parents actually live with him, which is really neat. But I think it would be cool to see him play myself, just because I think he has a very similar upbringing in terms of family support and nurture. But then also his drive and hard work to be that person that he is on the screen in terms of his physique, and whatever he has to do. It's that's something that I aspire to. So yeah,
that's great.
That's awesome.
Okay, what was an offer that you couldn't resist?
Probably going to UW-Madison, to be quite honest. I think whenever people are deciding what college to go to, there's a lot of different factors to take into account. I think, everyone has the ability, if you put in the work, you could get into one of those big name schools, the ones that, society always tells you, you're a superior human being if you go to Harvard or Stanford. Maybe you are intellectually, I couldn't tell you. I'm not one of those people. But for me, UW-Madison was the place that I had ultimately decided, it's possible if I tried harder or really wanted to go to a bigger name school. NYU was one that used to be on my list that I really wanted to go to. But if you weigh it economically, unless you're getting that full ride scholarship to NYU or mommy and daddy are willing to pay for that, it's just, I don't know. I don't see as much value as maybe society places on that, because it's ultimately what you do in your time at the whatever school you go to. You could go to the some low tier school, if that's what you want to call it. And you could kill it there. You could learn from the people around you. You could take the time to get to know your professors personally. You can join different organizations. You can tap into the community around you beyond just the college that you're at. So it doesn't really matter where you are. It just matters what you do and where you are, and then what you do with what you learn there. So for me, Madison, the ROI on an education there is just far superior to any other place that I looked at going.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So for anyone that knows you personally, they know you're a notorious bettor. You're making quick bets like that. But most of them I've noticed have been based on you. It's not external factors. You have to be involved in the bet. Is there any one bet that you would consider to be the best bet you've ever made?
Best bet that I've ever made. That's true. I'm always one to bet on myself. But when it comes to the stock market, the best bet that I ever made was in Mr. Elon Musk. I was so lucky. I sold all of my shares in Grubhub, and I swapped them out for, which was a bad bet on my part. I swapped them out for some Tesla shares, which is just far superior. It actually happened that Grubhub stock dropped by something like 40% the day after I sold them. It was insane. And then once I bought the Tesla stock, that has ballooned. At one point, it was like I can't remember. It was over 200%. Yeah, it was like 950. It was over 200% return or something like that. So that was by far the luckiest I ever got.
When did you go out? Did you hold it all the way up and all the way down, or did you start selling off?
I still own it, and that's because when I initially went into the stock, I saw it as a long-term bet. I said, okay, well, I was already down on this Grubhub money, but if this continues to go down, so be it, because I see, 10 years down the line, I fully believe in the Tesla mission and what they're doing as a company. So yeah, cool. It's cool. It reached 950 earlier this year, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if I, take a look at my account 10 years down the line in the stocks in the thousands of dollars. It's a long-term bet, not a short-term one, and So far it's paid off.
Right. I think it might be a buy right now, actually.
Yeah, I agree, actually, yeah.
Okay. Next section here. Do you have any advice for other people who are just kind of starting on this similar path as you, or people who are unsure if the path is right for them?
Yeah. Well, let's handle the people that don't know what path is right for them first, and then we'll go to the people that definitely know what path they want to go down. But if you are unsure on, what's your calling in life, what's your purpose on this earth, take the time to experiment as many times as you can. Try as many things that come across you. Any opportunity that someone extends out, just say yes, and eventually you'll find that one that you were built for. You find it most interesting, maybe you excel at it. Whatever it is, just take that opportunity and eventually you'll hit it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So eventually you'll swing and you'll hit the home run. That was the one built for you. So just keep trying different things if you don't know what path's right for you. If you do, and some of this applies just to anyone in general, but be a listener first, always. So this is a rather selfish thing. You can always say you're in a meeting scenario, right? And if you're the last to speak, the situation or the idea that you came into the meeting with might change from listening to other people's perspective. Maybe you latch onto someone else's perspective because you're like, oh yeah, that's superior to mine for XYZ, or you would adapt yours by, adding something from other people. So be a listener first. Listen to people that, are your associates. Listen to people that haven't had success in certain things, because you can hear what they tried and what their failures are. Learning from failures equally as important as learning from other successes. Because for the one Amazon that there are probably 100 or, plenty of companies that tried to create an Amazon.com, but only one was successful. So learn from those failures as well. So being a listener first, and then, like I said earlier, building the skill sets that will set you apart. So it's important to know that you are an irreplaceable employee or an asset to a company rather than a liability. It's unfortunate in these last few days that there have been a lot of layoffs in the U.S. and across the world because of the coronavirus wiping out lines of business, especially in the hospitality industry, airlines, you go down the list, but there have been a lot of layoffs. If you make yourself an irreplaceable employee from the skill sets that you have, they'll have no choice but to keep you on board. They can't fire you. So if you start learning different skills that no one else has in the company or organization that you're involved with, and you learn those and take the time to invest in yourself, you'll be an asset and irreplaceable. And then even if it's not, decision day and reckoning where they're trying to decide who to lay off or keep on board, just know that you can come into any organization and add value right away by building those skills that'll put you in that situation.
Some amazing advice. Some amazing advice. So I know you think super highly of Elon Musk, and would you consider him an influential mentor? Along with Elon, though, who else would you consider a mentor, whether that be famous or non-famous?
Sure, yeah, I think you can learn something from every single person you surround yourself with. It really doesn't matter what level they're on in the game of life, if you want to put it that way. You can learn from your associates, peers, people that perform differently or subordinate to yourself, or people that are superior to yourself. It's important to learn from everyone around you. I'd say Elon Musk isn't necessarily a mentor. It's cool to see that he has this drive and ambition in life, and he has that ability to say, yeah, I can do whatever I want and I'll be successful in it. That's something that I take from him. But in terms of like business strategy or career trajectory, that's not something that I look to as something that I want to follow. He's a whole different animal than myself, but he's a neat person to look at. So in terms of other people, I think it's important, whatever industry you decide to get involved in, is learn from the people that are doing exactly what you want to be doing. So I'll give you an example. I have a contrarian view in the world of business and the current state where everyone's trying to operate just to maximize revenue or build the biggest company as quickly as possible by raising a bunch of venture capital money. I'm more interested in creating a sustainable, long-term, profitable business. So I look at CEOs and founders that have done that exactly. So, for example, there's a company called Zapier. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Zapier at all. Essentially, they just connect the APIs of different tools on the internet. We go into that more in depth, or you can look it up if you'd like to. But they've built a sustainable, long-term, profitable business, and that's something that I look to as success. There's another one, Qualtrics. So the founder of that company is Ryan Smith. Ryan's built one of the most profitable, or at least break-even startups, and it was kind of under the radar. It wasn't the flashy consumer-facing company, even though everyone's probably actually interacted with Qualtrics, whether you know it or not. It's not a super flashy company. It's not like Uber, or it's on a Facebook where they're making movies about you because you're something that everyone sees on, or interacts with on their daily life, and they see it. Sure. It's a survey platform that you probably interacted with, but you had no idea. And they were actually snapped up by, I want to say it was SAP, for $7 billion. And they hardly took investment money because they were a profitable company along the lines. They didn't have to keep raising money just to stay afloat. So for me, those are two maybe uncommon people that I look to. And of course, Jeff Bezos is a cool one, just staying customer-centric. That's someone that everyone will know. But find those people in your industry that have achieved what you'd like to, and, start looking at what they did to be successful and what didn't work for them.
Fantastic.
That's some great advice. You mentioned super early in the interview that during the morning, kind of stay up on your reading. Are there any favorite books of yours, whether that be fiction or nonfiction?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm more of a nonfiction guy myself. But the one fiction book that I really liked, was The Alchemist, because it's all about finding your personal legend and finding what is that path for you in life. So personal discovery and gaining a better understanding about yourself, that's something that I like from The Alchemist. But the nonfiction book that I'd probably say is my favorite, The Lean Startup is a good one, just for what's relevant in my life. It's kind of a different model to building a business, for building a product based on your hypothesis, testing that out with users, learning from that, and then adjusting your product to making it better to fit the market consensus or market demand. So yeah,
that's awesome. Great. Any famous or non-famous quotes that you live by?
Well, the one my dad always says is never do a half job. That's one that I like, because whatever you're doing, you should always put your, best foot forward, give it 100%. You always want to be a good representation of yourself. You never know who's going to see the work that you do or who's going to come across it. And just for yourself as well, you want to always make sure you're giving it your best. So never do a half job. It's just the way that my dad puts it. I have no idea where he got that from, but that's what he's always said to us throughout our lives, me and my sister, speaking of. And then I like this quote by Steve Jobs, which was actually my quote in the yearbook when I was graduating from high school. It's the people that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. So if you don't have that confidence in yourself to, go ahead and try to change the world, whether it's through software development or you want to be a fashion icon, you want to bring something new to the world of finance, whatever it is, you can change the world. You can have a lasting impact. It's just a matter of you believing yourself to do that. So, yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. All right, Cameron, I love the points that you brought up. I think you did a terrific job on answering the questions. I can tell you're super goal-oriented, and yeah, I like the direction where you're headed. Thank you so much for coming on to our show and being our first guest.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having it. I think your show is great, and I will continue to watch you guys from afar, listen to whatever content you put out, and make sure I share it with some other people.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to link your LinkedIn, your Snapchat, Instagram, etc. in the comments below in case anyone resonated with this enough to want to reach out to you individually, because you had some very great points, and I feel like you'd be a great mentor for a bunch of people, and have been for Dylan and I.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me anywhere. I'd say Instagram DMs is always a good place. Otherwise, connect with me on LinkedIn, and hopefully we can help each other out.
Fantastic.
All right,
Thanks for your time today, Cameron.
thank you, Cameron.
Yep.
Catch you later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.